this problem right now, what ails our country is corruption. And a lot of investors are saying, why should we invest in the Philippines when it is graft-ridden and it is a lot of issues on corruption? Pinabayad namin ang buwis namin. Pero yung buwis namin is not going to the right services. Pupunta lang sa bulsa ng ibang tao. Hindi siya pumupunta sa serbisyo publiko.
During the time of the Duterte administration, we also had rice problems in 2018. But, you know, looking at what happened in 2018, we had the rice tariffication law, rice prices went up, but then it went down right away. So, in other words, you know, rice was a problem, it caused inflation to go up, but then it was addressed right away.
Hello mga kadonatics! Napag-usapan ng mga analyst na to ang inflation rate sa Pilipinas na hindi solusyonan ni BBM. Ano kaya ang dahilan? At bakit parang walang ginagawa yung administrasyon ngayon? Well, sa interview na to, napagkumpara nila ang panahon ni Tatay Digong sa panahon ngayon, kung saan mapapahanga ka talaga kay Tatay Digong.
This problem right now, what ails our country is corruption. And a lot of investors are saying, why should we invest in the Philippines when it is graft-ridden and it is a lot of issues on corruption? Who is doing a better job, April, in terms of combating and fighting corruption? Was it the Duterte administration in its first 3 years or the Marcos administration in its first 3 years?
Well, I think Jonathan will have a better say on that. But I mean, okay, I'll talk about you know, the rice situation na lang. Okay, so during the time of the Duterte administration, we also had rice problems in 2018. But, you know, looking at what happened in 2018, we had the rice tariffication law, rice prices went up, but then it went down right away. So, in other words, you know, rice was a problem, it caused inflation to go up, but then it was addressed right away. So this time around, for us, we're saying, oh, we're excited. For example, there are so many things that the government is doing. For example, it reduced the tariffs on rice. Globally, El Nino's over, and then India said we're gonna lift the ban on rice exports. So we're seeing global rice prices go down. But then you kind of wonder, how come rice prices aren't going down? So, you know, in that respect, I would say that, you know, if corruption was the answer to, you know, the reason why rice prices aren't going down, then in that respect, I could say Duterte did a better job. But then maybe Jonas can say something else.
So see? Look at that. Hindi lang magandang dilag, maganda din yung pananaw sa buhay, marunong din na analyst, at hindi talaga biased. Kasi, you know, this is a mainstream media. Usually, naga-neutral yan sila as much as possible. They don't divulge too much on the previous administration, but in this administration. Bakit nagbaba na tayo ng tariffication? Bayad ba kung mag-import ka, export ka ng bigas? Hanggang ngayon, mataas pa rin yung presyo ng bigas. Unlike kay Tatay Digong, immediate response yung gusto niya. Pag may problema ngayon, pag may balita na ito nangyari, gusto niya agad-agad. Remember that talimbala, few days pa lang sa kanyang administration, ipinahinto niya agad. Pero grabe yung problema na yun during Noynoy's time. Halos araw-araw may tanimbala na case. Pagdating ni Tatay Digong, hinto. Ayaw niyong hinto, alis kayo lahat dyan. Iba ang may prinsipyo. Let's go.
I think during Duterte's time, there was sense of, I think they had the right focus, especially on the taxation side. If you remember the mighty cigarettes, they were able to really go against tax evaders, of course, and they were still able to do a win-win situation. So there was an example that people were fearing, so that things in check. Okay? Right now, the difference is that there are so many problems like inflation that needs to be addressed. You have an education crisis. So all of these things are a balancing act.
Because during the time of President Duterte, he established the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, no, in 2017, and also signed the Ease of Doing Business Act. During the time of Marcos Jr. in his first 3 years, he has focused basically on strengthening institutions and improving governance through digitalization and transparency.
Transparency.
Both administrations have done their part to fight corruption. But is it working? April.
Well, from the rice example, seems like it's not.
Why is it not working?
It's embedded in the system. You have to understand, any new administration, if you were president of the Philippines, you only control or appoint 6,740 people. And those that you'll appoint will only be there for 6 years. The people who are there in the system, for them to be kicked out, you need to get the Civil Service Commission and all of these things. So we need to fix the system.
Let's talk about inflation and the cost of living. In terms of economic management, Duterte and Marcos Jr. administrations, who is doing a better job in containing inflation?
Well, basically, both are doing the same strategies by really lowering the tariffs. So I think one of the things that Duterte initially, during his first 4 years, he really focused on food security. However, towards the end, because of the challenges that they faced with 2018, as mentioned by April, the tendency was really to do stopgap measures, and eventually that's lowering the tariffs. However, at this point in time, we've actually done a lot of those policies to be able to bring down inflation. The problem with us is that we don't have a real plan for food. So one of the things is that we've fixed the importing side, meaning we've lowered the tariffs, so we've lessened the potential income of importers. So wholesalers moving to the distributor, that's capped. Now, from the distributors moving to the traders like supermarkets, their margins are still there. So government needs to be able to do something.
Right, there really has to be a systematic strategy, a plan, an overall plan by the administration to be able to fix our inflation.
Wala eh. Wala talaga. Parang walang ginagawa yung BBM administration ngayon sa inflation rate natin. Kasi kung meron man, may resulta na. Pero hanggang ngayon, mas tumaas pa lalo yung mga bilihin, which most likely will not go down pretty soon. Pagpakinggan mo siya magsalita, ang daming mga sinasabi na ganito, ganon, yung problema, dapat solusyonan. Pero hanggang ngayon, 3 years na, wala pa ring solusyon sa mga problema na binabanggit niya. Iba talaga mag-isip si BBM. There's something wrong with him. Let's go.
Inflation problems. But of course, over the past few quarters, we've seen inflation within the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas range of 2 to 4%, despite the central bank cutting rates by 3/4 of 1% already. Do you think that this can be maintained? April?
Yeah, I think it can be maintained. Okay, if you look at inflation, you break it down, really it's food. Everything else is within the 2 to 4%. So if you look at core inflation, it really is trending down. So as far as food is concerned, yes, maybe we'll have some hiccups here and there because of bad weather conditions. But rice is a heavyweight, and if I'm looking at global rice prices, they're really going down. So we're quite confident that once you have that addressed, inflation will stay within the 2 to 4% range.
Pinabayad namin ang buwis namin. Pero, yung buwis namin is not going to the right services. Pumupunta lang sa bulsa ng ibang tao. Hindi siya pumupunta sa serbisyo publiko. But how do we change that mindset of our kababayans who think that way, that the money that they pay the government will just go to corruption?
Well, I think if you're the government, then I guess listen more to what people are saying. And before, when I had a show with the ANC, one of my guests, or one of the topics we talked about is the SONA. And it's good that the president is aware that inflation is a problem. But then, the next step is, so now you know that it's a problem, so what do you do? One of my guests said, rather than just doing a lot of things without really thinking about is it effective or not, you think of the situation and have some concrete measures. And then from there, create a plan and do the plan. And if your plan succeeds in, say,
Tama.
bringing down inflation, increasing the production of food, then it's working.
We need to eventually bring back values. Whether it's to ourselves or to the government, it starts from there. Diba? There should be love of country, and that's not what we see in most of our kababayans. Diba? So every time I see, recently my wife had a birthday, nandun yung friend niya na husband was an OFW, which in one of our campings when their kids were small, I made mention how important an OFW is. It brings consumption to our economy, di ba? So those are things that we have to value each and everyone's contribution.
Absolutely. OFWs are like the modern day Filipino heroes. They contribute more than $30 billion to the economy every year.
Salute sa mga OFW. Pero yung sabihing modern day hero, I don't think so. Why? I am a OFW. Pero sabihin ng Pilipinas, sabihin ng bayan natin, ng mga leaders natin na we are the modern day heroes, pero the way they treated us, I don't think so. Kaya magbalat na lang tayo ng boto. Ang daming mga problema OFW, especially sa BBM administration ngayon. Kung may problema, hindi agad na solusyonan. Sa panahon ni Tatay Digong, nako, saludo tayo. Iba yung tingin nila sa atin. Pero ngayon, nako, bumaba yung dignidad ng mga OFWs. 30 billion, can you imagine? We contributed to the Philippines. That is annually. And you know what? Why they call us modern hero? Because of that huge percentage that we contributed to the Philippines. Not because we are working abroad. It's all about money, money, money. That's the fact. Anyway, mga kabayan natin mga OFWs, kung saan ka mang sulok ng mundo, comment down below kung saan ka, and please, what do you think about this video? Bye-bye.